So here's the bombshell. The Hollywood love story that's been cracking for years might have finally split wide open. Word is flying faster than a TMZ alert that Jada Pinkett Smith has gone ahead and pulled the plug, letting the world know her and Will are officially divorcing. And honestly, the internet's reacting like this breakup has been in the waiting room forever. People are saying finally, because even the toughest ride or dies eventually hit that breaking point when the love turns into a battlefield. Now, the big question everybody's chewing on. What was the final straw? Was it the years of side-eye moments? Awkward interviews and cryptic marriage wisdom quotes they kept dropping on us like puzzle pieces? Or is this about something even deeper? For years, there's been low-key chatter about Will, the kind of chatter that never really goes away. And now, folks are connecting dots like conspiracy boards in a Netflix docuseries. It's a wild twist considering where they started. Will and Jada weren't just a Hollywood couple, they were the Hollywood couple, the kind of pair people used to call relationship goals back in the 2000s. They had the matching smiles, the power moves, the red carpet magic, the whole perfect partnership package. But somewhere between the infamous entanglement era, those uncomfortable public confessions, and Will's unpredictable award show moments, the cracks started showing. And then the cracks became headlines. Not even a few years ago, they were the Hollywood blueprint for real love. The power couple who had supposedly cracked the code on keeping it solid in an industry where most relationships barely survive a movie premiere. People used to point at them like, see, that's what I want right there. But now the same folks are side-eyeing them so hard they can see behind their own heads. The downfall really picked up speed in 2020 when that now infamous entanglement bomb dropped. That single word alone flipped their public image upside down. Overnight, the perfect love fairy tale turned into a reality show plot twist nobody saw coming. Or maybe they did, and we just weren't paying attention. The way it all played out had people gasping and laughing at the same time. Like, wait, did she just admit that on camera? And the drama didn't just hit Jada. Will caught major heat too. A lot of folks couldn't wrap their heads around the fact that he sat there calm-faced while she laid it all out on the table about being with another man. And then came the kicker. The talk that he had actually given his blessing for it to happen. That one detail set the internet on fire. Memes, tweets, and late-night jokes were flying left and right, painting Will as the too-chill husband in a storm nobody would want to stand in. Even after the entanglement earthquake nearly split the internet in half, Will and Jada stood there smiling like nothing could shake their so-called life partnership. They doubled down hard, letting everyone know with the confidence of two people trying to sell a perfect picture that they were locked in for life. No matter what the world thought, they kept saying they were going to work on it. Although by that point, most people weren't even sure what it was anymore. But oh, trust, the tea didn't stop spilling after 2020. It kept brewing hotter and messier. More whispers, more side-eyes. And then, in 2023, Jada decided to drop the kind of bombshell that made even her biggest defenders stop mid-sentence. She released her memoir. And this wasn't just a tell-all. It was a strip-it-bare confession about their relationship from day one. Now, let's rewind a second. Will had already released his own book in 2021, where he opened up about rough patches, a little infidelity, and some big-time tension between them. But Jada's version, it made his look like a warm-up act. She revealed that she and Will had actually been separated in every way except legally since 2016. Basically, they'd been living two totally separate lives for years, only coming together in public to keep the brand looking solid. And here's the kicker. Jada admitted she hadn't been happy for a long time. But even so, she said she stayed because of a vow she made before they even tied the knot. There would never be a reason for divorce. Separation, sure. Private romantic lives with other people, apparently yes. But divorce, absolutely not. This wasn't just some personal pact. It's also why they skipped the prenup and rebranded their marriage as a life partnership instead of the usual husband and wife setup. On paper, it was smart. They had a powerful brand together, a name that carried major weight in Hollywood, and a joint image that was almost as valuable as their careers. Breaking that up would have been like dismantling a multi-million-dollar empire. But here's where the whole arrangement started to smell a little off. Jada was out here openly saying they'd been apart for years, living separate love lives and exploring their own connections, while Will seemed to still be moving like there was a real marriage left to fight for. To a lot of people watching, it looked less like an understanding and more like one person reading from a completely different script. Just before Jada's book hit the shelves and sent shockwaves through Hollywood, Will Smith had already set the internet and the Oscars on fire with what quickly became the biggest controversy of his career. The night he walked up on stage in front of millions and delivered the slap heard round the world to Chris Rock after a G.I. Jane joke aimed at Jada. When the footage was played back in slow motion, people caught something telling. At first, Will actually seemed fine with the joke, even cracking a smile. But then he caught Jada's reaction. Her face said she was not here for it, and in seconds, Will's entire demeanor flipped. The next thing you know, he's marching across the stage like a man on a mission, hitting Chris Rock with a slap so shocking the whole room froze. And then came the words, sharp, heated, and forever etched in pop culture. "Keep my wife's name out your mouth." The Oscars went from glamorous to chaotic in a heartbeat. The fallout was instant and brutal. Will was dropped from multiple film projects almost overnight. A couple of major brand deals quietly vanished. His public image, once squeaky clean and bankable, took a massive hit. And to even start rebuilding, he had to release a formal apology video trying to explain himself while the world picked apart every angle of that night. But then, just when you thought they'd at least put on a united front, Jada's book dropped. And instead of standing in that mess together, she drew a line in the sand. In interviews, she fully distanced herself from everything that happened at the Oscars. She made it clear that Will's decision to slap Chris was his and his alone, and basically said she had nothing to do with it. That moment in Jada's press run left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And not just a little bad. We're talking spoiled milk bad. It's one thing to disagree with Will's actions behind closed doors, but for her to go out in public, separate herself from it completely, and not even give the bare minimum of "we stand together"? That's when the internet said, "Oh yeah, this man is riding solo in this so-called marriage." It was crystal clear to the public. Will might have been wearing the husband title, but Jada had mentally clocked out a long time ago. And yet, somehow Will kept showing up for her. Even after all that, he'd pop up in interviews saying he'd stand by Jada for life, calling their bond unbreakable. But while the words sounded loyal, his actions lately? Totally different story. Fast forward to now, and the two of them are barely spotted together, unless it's some family-related appearance. Meanwhile, Will's been living like a man with plenty of free time, and he's not hiding it. He just dropped a new album and was literally spotted performing on the streets of London, pulling full rock star energy like he was back in the peak Big Willie style era. And here's where it gets spicy. At one of those performances, he had a seriously close moment with Spanish singer India Martinez. I'm talking on-stage center spotlight, the two of them leaning in, smiling, hands all over each other, and the crowd losing its mind. And just when you thought it ended there, cameras caught India backstage later that night, running right into Will's arms like she'd been waiting for that moment all day. And guess what? They're not hiding a thing. From flirty social media posts to photos of them hanging out off stage, it's giving Instagram official without the announcement vibes. People are starting to notice how much time these two seem to be spending together and how little time Will is spending with his bad marriage for life partner back home. Ever since Jada went on record back in August and fully aired out that whole entanglement situation for the world to dissect, Will's been on a roller coaster. And not the fun kind. That one word, entanglement, became a global punchline, and it hit his image harder than any movie flop ever could. Overnight, he went from being the cool, polished Hollywood vet with the perfect smile and the perfect family to the guy everyone was side-eyeing, wondering if his whole life was just a carefully packaged front. From talk shows to Twitter threads, people stopped seeing him as that guy who had it all together. Instead, they started picking apart every interview, every public appearance, even the way he smiled, asking if there was pain hiding behind it. And honestly, that's exactly what it looked like. The damage didn't just stay in the gossip columns either. It bled into his career. His name became less about box office hits and more about messy headlines. Directors started quietly passing him over. Brands pulled back, and suddenly the man who could once greenlight a blockbuster with his signature alone was out here hustling to rebuild his reputation from the ground up. Even with the non-stop spotlight, the jokes, and the side-eyes, somehow Will's brand didn't fully crash and burn. At least not the way people thought it would. Sure, the shine's been scratched up, but his name still holds weight in Hollywood. Studios still call, fans still show up, and the man can still pull a crowd anywhere in the world. That alone says a lot because most folks wouldn't survive half the headlines he's been through. But here's the wild part. None of that comeback energy came from Jada. Publicly, she hasn't lifted a finger to help him smooth things over. No joint interviews to soften the image. No red carpet moments to remind people why they ever rooted for them in the first place. Nothing. If anything, every time she steps up to a mic, it's another headline that drags his name back into the mud. Some insiders are even whispering that Will's finally had his light bulb moment. After years of bending over backwards trying to make this bad marriage-for-life thing work, he's starting to see the truth. Maybe he doesn't actually need it to work out. In fact, some say he's been moving with a different kind of energy lately. Lighter, freer, like a man who just took off a backpack full of bricks. From the way he's been smiling on stage to the way he's been living like he's got nothing tying him down, one thing's becoming clear. Will might just be happier outside of this marriage than he ever was inside it. Word on the street is that Will's recent moves, especially that now infamous kiss with India, might have been the final straw for Jada. For years, they've been running this life partnership storyline. But behind closed doors, it's been cracks on top of cracks. Now, it's looking like those cracks have split wide open, and here's where it gets even spicier. There's no prenup. That means if divorce papers hit the table, this could turn into one of the messiest Hollywood splits we've seen in a long time. Assets, properties, business ventures, all of it could be up for grabs. People are already imagining the headlines, and honestly, nobody's expecting this to be smooth sailing. But let's keep it real. This divorce wouldn't shock a single soul. Folks have been calling this from miles away. Will and Jada are living proof of what happens when you settle instead of truly matching energies. Just because someone's into you doesn't mean it's going to work. Both people need to be locked in with the same passion, or it's only a matter of time before it all unravels. And honestly, this is the most relaxed, most joyful Will has looked in years. He's laughing. He's traveling. He's performing like a man who finally remembered who he is. If he does decide to make that final move, file those papers, and sprint toward the hills, it might just be the best news for both of them. No more forced smiles. No more for the brand appearances. Just freedom. Their kids are grown. The legacy is already built. The only question left is, will they actually go through with it this time? Or will it be another chapter in their never-ending saga?